Thank you for taking some time to checking out one of the topics of individuals with disabilities. I know we've given you a variety of things to take a look at, and this is one that we wanted to spend some time and attention on. I'm going to share some stats and some information, and then we'll talk about some resources. This is a kind of snapshot of the current workforce, really looking at non-institutional population by disability status, particularly in 2015 and 2016. And so it gives information about persons with disability and persons without a disability in the civilian workforce, and look at participation rate. Something to kind of stand out, if you kind of look at 19.5%, 35% versus 68.5% or 76.5%. In 2016, 17.9% of persons with a disability were employed, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. In contrast, the employment ratio for those without a disability was 65.3%. The unemployment rate for persons with a disability was at 10.5%, while the general population was 4.6%. And also in 2016, 34% of people with disability were more likely to be part-time versus 18% with those with no disability. Here's another stat, and this actually looks at disability status and selected characteristics. And characteristics are age and gender, educational attainment, and even some ethnicity is in here. I know this is really small, so I really encourage you to take a time to go ahead and jump over to the Bureau of Labor Statistics and really take a look at this, because it gives you some interesting facts of what people with disabilities are looking at in terms of employment. Let's go ahead and take a moment and watch this video. It really gives the idea of taking the idea of disability and changing it to ability. I really like the idea of changing, really the concept of disability to ability. There are many barriers facing employment for persons with a disability. Disabilities are visible and invisible, and incorporate a variety of impairments that include physical, sensory, cognitive, and developmental. Because of discrimination and barriers to employment, a variety of laws have been passed to lessen these barriers and provide more opportunities. Some laws deal with physical access, so actually looking at the requirements to have handicap accessible doors and curb cutouts and parking spaces. Others will deal with to address educational opportunities. For example, the Individual Disability Education Act, IDEA Act, kind of looks at individual education plans and the idea of reasonable accommodations in terms of testing and resources, including, if students need to have a book read to them versus reading that, or they need additional time on testing because of cognitive disabilities in terms of processing information. So I encourage you to take some time, check out these out. We talked about the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. There's some particular subsets of this population that kind of realign or re-amend the Rehabilitation Act, so particularly address persons with disability. There's also a variety of information and resources available here. I encourage you to really check them out, especially the EARN network, the Employer Assistance and Resource Development on Disability Inclusion, and it's really aimed at employers and looking at the resources and abilities and opportunities they have to hire people with disability and really look at that workforce development. There's actually a program that's really looking at the college population and getting them from the college environment into the work environment and what steps are necessary to do that. The Ticket to Work program is another one, and this one actually is put on by Social Security Administration and really looks at economic value of being self-support through work and helping people who may have disability to get back into the workforce and provide opportunities and resources there. Here's an additional one, including picked one from Texas, and so I think it's really interesting to look at the variety of information here and available for people with a disability to get them back into the workforce. Thanks.